wind speeds of 115 miles an hour. So you think about the Harrisburg area, we might get a wind burst, we might get a tornado. Nothing much more than that at this point. Energy performance in our HVAC systems, the R values in the walls. These are 9-inch thick concrete walls. There's 3 inches of concrete, 3-inch vapor barriers, and 3 inches of concrete. High delta T cooling, you received an explanation already on what that is. And we actually took that a step further. In our racking, we have 2 sides of our data center. We have the traditional mainframe side, and then we have all this open system stuff. And we spent 6 months designing a rack, 19-inch rack. I never thought in my career that I would spend that kind of time worrying about these racks. But we have all of our vendors in the open system side. We threw all their racks out. We said we're using 1 rack in this data center, and we're building a racking hotel. And in conjunction with the high delta T cooling, we also use what we call precision cooling. So we're using Tower Cool. They're made by Rightline. You can get APC. There's a lot of vendors out there that have a flavor of it. Well, we're taking the cold air up under the floor. It's going up through a plenum in the front door. We have fans on the front door. It's blowing the cold air in across the servers, the blades. Then the hot air is being extracted out the top rear door, and it's pushed up into the plenum. So we actually taken the high delta T and made the rack now part of the cooling system. Those racks have variable speed fans in them. So we're measuring the temperature in, we're measuring the temperature at the server level and out, and those fan speeds will control based on the need of the server that's in there. So the only other thing we can do to be more efficient is actually chimney these racks to the ceiling. And right now it was kind of an aesthetics thing. If you've ever been to our data center, it's actually a tour experience. And we're holding off on that, but we're working with IBM right now on a thermal analysis to see what the benefit of that is. Because as these rate hikes come and the caps come off, we're going to be looking for any way to save energy at that point. We talked about, mentioned leads. If you're going to go down the leads path, decide up front and stick to it, because as part of the leads process, it's run by the U.S. Green Building Council. You have to present a lot of documentation. And if you don't collect that documentation early, you're really going to have a headache when you go to submit, because you're going to try and track down subcontractors for documentation, and they've all moved on. And the last thing they want to do is go back and document what they did for you. And they'll probably charge you. So build it in, get it up front. People ask me all the time, how much does leads cost? And to obtain silver on this project, it costs 3 to 4% of construction costs. So it does cost money to be energy efficient and to go down the green road. But you have to pick and choose. Leads is about points. And there's some things in leads that aren't quite right, because putting a simple bike rack in so your employees can ride to work is a leads point, or putting evergreen chillers in is a leads point. And so there's not a good balance there, and maybe that's why Ken Brill has a little argument with it. But it's still I still believe it's the right thing to do. It allows us, it supports our corporate philosophy. It allows us to be a better neighbor. When you talk about a data center, you talk about diesel generators, you talk about cooling towers. We're in a business park like many data centers, and we only put out 62 dB of noise on our property line. So you want to be a good neighbor to these the people you work with, because obviously you don't want the phone calls when your generators are running. And then it makes sense, when we pay our electric bill, and we'll talk about that a little more. Okay, we talk about the focus on energy conservation. And Kelly and I, we did a segment for Pennsylvania Newsmakers with Terry Madonna, where we talked about rate caps and rate caps coming off. And this is big stuff, okay? If you haven't looked at your electric bill for your data centers, 40% is big stuff. And we have to look at ways to combat that. And if you've been reading the paper lately, Highmark's got a business acquisition, not an acquisition, but a possible merger with Independence Blue Cross. So we have two things we're looking at right now. We're looking at the rate caps, and we're looking at doubling, possibly, the size of our data center. So you couple them together, and that's big money. Okay, so we have to start conserving. Okay, so our management team came and said, Mark, one of your objectives next year is to reduce energy costs in the data center by 10%. I'm an IT guy, okay? Never did I have to worry about energy. All I did was put the servers in and plug them up. That's facilities. Facilities worries about the power and the energy. Well, not anymore. Since 2005, the IT guys are now worried about energy, okay? And so much that is one of our objectives. So where to start? Okay, so first thing I did was, okay, I need people that know about this. So we formed a team, and the first question I asked them is, where's the electric bill? Never saw it before. Facilities took care of it. Okay, where's the bill? I mean, how many IT folks in here see their electric bill on a monthly basis? We have one hand, besides myself. So you get the point. We don't know about electric, so we're learning. And then we baseline our consumption. And there's two ways we measure power. This is a standalone building, so I get the power, so I know how much kW per hour we're using per month. I know what the bill is. Well, then you have to talk about the data center itself, and that's everything that's behind your UPS system, because that's really what you're measuring, your critical power. So we had to go out and we had to understand what those critical loads were and measure it. So this is what our data center actually looks like. Where does the power go? 40% of it goes to IT. The other 60% in our facility goes to the things that support IT, the UPSs, the chillers, the PDUs, the lighting, since we're turning it off. But we do have a small office complex, but we do have some lighting. So you can see not all the power goes to the raised floor. It goes to the support. So now that we understand that, we said, let's talk about that 40%. What does that look like? Okay, our maximum kW in our data center is 1080. Okay, that's a critical number for me. If I go above that 1080, it's a $12 million acquisition, capital cost to upgrade this facility. So that's what I'm managing. I'm managing trying to stay below that 1080. You look right now, we're at 441. We started at 362 measuring, took it down to 418. Your business continued to grow. I'm happy to say that right now we're sitting at 435. That chart's a couple months old, and we're hoping to go down to 400 by the end of the year. So you take this 480 and say, geez, you have a lot of headroom. Well, if we execute this merger successfully in the next year, and we bring another 340 kW worth of power into this data center, now you're up into the 700-800 range. Now you got to start paying attention. Okay, so with that, so where do we start? We actually went through our data center and we measured the power of each piece of equipment. Some things we did actual measurements on. Other things we measured plate data. And plate data is not a good measurement, but if you're trying to get a ballpark of where you are, you can use that until you get the real readings. But having them is important. We tried to understand, okay, out of all these boxes, by what what platform in your data center is using the most energy? Interesting. We have some slides on that. Develop a plan to go physical to virtual. So if you haven't heard about virtual, the whole world's virtualizing, no different there. Every year as our servers come off their end of useful life, we evaluate if they can be virtualized. So, you can't go with the Big Bang Theory, because obviously you still have budgets to maintain. I mean, I don't know about you, but, we have budgets and we don't have endless dollars. But, so this stuff rolls off, we look to virtualize it. And then, other strategies. What are you doing in archiving? What are you doing with tiered storage? Larger disk sizes. It's time to start moving up to those larger disk sizes. Data deduplication. These are things that we've started building strategies around.